The display goes black, and the background whine fades away. A moment later, you find yourself deposited back at the menu screen. Play check 2. The screen goes black for a moment, then a figure appears on the screen. Your late client, Green Winters. His elbow is planted on the table that he's seated at, and his chin rests on his palm. The other hand is wrapped around a bottle of cheap whiskey. The timestamp in the video reads 2053, 12:25. Oh boy. You are not a nice-looking fellow. Found the message Adrian left me all those years ago. Got it cleaned up as best I could. Strange hearing his voice again. He paused to take a long pull on the bottle. It's good to hear him, even if he did insist on calling me Hermie. Dr. Adrian Vauclair, the hero of the people, the Dragon Slayer, my brother. He grimaces and rubs his eyes. Hard to believe it's been almost 20 years. Alright, so I'm going to start recording these DVDs again, for me, for Adrian, for whoever might wind up watching them. Every time I do this, it feels like a waste. It winds up feeling like a waste of time, but I keep doing it anyway, on the off chance that I'll find something important. If I stumble into the clue that leads me to my brother, I know that I'm going to want it on film. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, after all. No sense in quitting now. Christ, 20 years. All this time and still no leads, even with all of my contacts and my resources. He takes another long swallow of cheap liquor. Even with my legendary bullheadedness, I have made no progress at all. I haven't turned up a single goddamn thing. Want to hear something funny? The closest I've gotten to a clue was a rumor. Apparently a team emerged in the Sox a while back. Nobody's claimed the date, but, and get this, he leans into the camera and gives a conspiratorial wink. Supposedly they vanished without a trace. Vanished without a trace, god damn it. He upends the bottle, drains it, slams it back down to the table. His eyes are rimmed with red. Not much of a rumor considering. I already know that you're gone, big brother. I live with that every day. Abruptly, Winters leans forward and reaches for something off screen. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. There's a grinding sound from the DVD tray, and Green Winter's image appears on the screen. There's an eager look on his face. The timestamp in the video reads 2054, 10:12. Stumbled upon this archival footage of Feuerschling's original attack, months before the Dragonfall. Easy to figure how devastating it was. Adrian saved a lot of people by bringing her down. I've got the footage all queued up to play, starting it now. Additional comments to follow. The slow whir of the DVD player shifts to a high-pitched whine. A distorted, wavering image blooms into being on the screen. A timestamp on the upper right corner of the screen marks the date, July 6, 2012. Oh boy. It's difficult to make out what you're seeing at first. The scene is dark and smoky, and the telltale flashes of emergency vehicle lights flicker on the periphery of the screen. The camera pushes in, and you can make out two figures standing on a ruined landscape. All at once, sound cuts in. Again, for those of you just joining us, we are coming to you live from Stolberg. A few hours ago, the Dragon Feuerschling launched an unprovoked attack on this sleepy Harz mountain town, and you can clearly see the results behind me. Fire, ashes, and blood. We are joined tonight by a survivor of the latest and most horrifying attack. The reporter turns to face a pale man standing behind him. Sir, I understand that you've been through a terrible ordeal. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us tonight. The camera switches focus to a middle-aged man with a haunted look in his eyes. He stammers out a reply. Yes, of course. If you could, sir, could you please tell the people at home about your experience in the attack? It was horrible. Just pure chaos. So many people are dead. People I knew, roasted alive or trampled to death trying to escape. My own house is burned to the ground during the attack. My family, we have nothing now. You all made it through the attack, though. Your wife, your kids. Yeah, we all made it, thank God. We rode out the attack in a small shelter. Me, my wife, and our two daughters. The shelter protected us, but the heat was just unbearable. We couldn't have stayed in there much longer than we did. How long were you holed up in there? 3, maybe 4 hours? I don't know. We just stayed inside till the heat died down and the screaming stopped. What happened after that? When it was over, you know, when the air cooled down, the reporter nods and the man continues. We stepped outside. There was nothing left. Just smoldering wreckage, this dense cloud of black, oily smoke, and the stench of the air. God, that smell. Smelled like roasting meat. There was a long pause. From the tortured look on his face, you can tell the man is struggling to decide whether or not to continue speaking. Eventually he does. My girls. They found what was left of their nanny outside. Her body, what was left of it, was slumped against the shelter door. I kept telling myself that I couldn't hear her pounding to get in, but that isn't true. I could. I just couldn't bring myself to open that door. I couldn't risk my family like that. Not for her. Not for anyone. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to speak with us. Yeah. You heard it here, an absolutely chilling account of tonight's attack. Again, the town of Stolberg had been reduced to ash, under the victim of the fire wing. Stay with us for more up to the minute reporting on Feuerschwing's Reign of Terror. Green Window's face reappears on the screen. Okay, it's time for a new approach. Adrian's complete dead end. A complete dead end. That much is pretty clear by now. So I'm going to do some deading on Feuerschwing instead. Let's see where this goes. The screen abruptly goes black as the video cuts off. A few moments later, you find yourself returned to the menu screen. The DVD player ramps up to speed, filling the air with a shrill whining sound. Green Winter's image appears on the screen. The timestamp in the video reads 2054, 10:31. Well, that was a bust. Little progress on Feuerschwing either. He shakes his head. I don't know. It's weird. The information is there, it's just wrong somehow. It's too well laid out, too simple. Real life is messy, and this feels just a little too neat. That's the only thing that's been nagging me. I'm getting that tingly feeling all the way up and down my back, and well, up and down the back of my neck again. Feels like I'm being tracked. I know Matrix hot shot like Clockwork or Schaefer, but I'm good enough to know when someone's on my scent. I gotta install some new security measures. Can't be too careful. Winter's image disappears. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. The display goes blank for a moment. Then the face of Green Winter winks onto the screen. He is seated at a computer. I'm guessing this was the off to his left. An enormous monitor fills the screen. His voice carries an edge of panic. The time stamp on the video reads 2054, 11:09. Oh, Jesus, you look haggard. Okay, some shit's been going down. Christ, I'm getting too close to something. There's a trail of bodies and their disappearances. Clockwork, Marcian, Peregrine. They've all just disappeared in the past few years. Clockwork just went AWOL yesterday. And they were all making the same sort of inquiries with the fire wing that I've been. There are ghost stories spreading around the Decker community. Stories about Deckers disappearing and then showing up again later, but wrong somehow. Scary stuff, and I'm starting to think that it's true. Blitz leans in to whisper to you. I know the stories he's talking about, Chief. Never really put much stock in them. Not until now. Could these rumors be related to what's happening here? Am I being paranoid? He pauses for a moment, as if seriously considering the question. Then he shakes his head and slams his fist onto the table. No, I don't think so. Something big is happening here, and I'm right in the middle of it. Iger cuts in. That's a bit of a leap. One other thing. Tolstoy told me a story about a kill team that might be related to all this. Apparently a Decker named Hellbore posted a theory about Feuerschwing to the Shadowrun BBS about 5 years ago. About an hour later, a mil-spec team showed up in the meat space and cooked her entire apartment with her in it. If what Tolstoy told me was true, Hellbore live posted the event. She described her killer and this big orc with skin grafts. Okay. And the whole already disappeared. Gone without a trace. Leap, Iger love. Sounds like he's on the right track to me. Iger nods her silence, but concedes the point with a small nod. On the screen, Winters pauses. He looks like he's working up to something. Finally, he speaks. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. This has gotta be Feuerschwing. All of it. Adrian was right about her. She's still alive and she's out of the socks. She's covering her tracks, working the shadows, preparing to rise again. And that means that I have to find you, Adrian, for everyone's sake. Thankfully, I've got a lead. For the first time in 2 decades, I've got a solid goddamn lead. I backtracked all the Matrix nodes the Hellboy was looking into. Back before she got cooked. Whoever's been purging the Matrix didn't think about that. And I found that she turned up. Winter stabs a few keys on his keyboard, and an image expands to fill the screen of his monitor. A satellite photo of a rural landscape, annotated with the GPS data. A set of map coordinates. So now I've got a target, a place to start digging. The Harfeld Manor, conveniently located on an isolated stretch of countryside, miles away from prying eyes. Matrix records indicate that some sort of data vault exists beneath the estate. So that's what I need to get into. And this is where we came in. As if on cue, a familiar image winks onto the monitor to the left. Monica. To Winter's left. I think I'm going to tap Schaefer for this job. She's got the skills to bypass whatever security they're running out there. And she's gullible enough to take the job in the first place. You son of a bitch. I'll feed her a line about the flux state security and she'll eat it up with a spoon. I warned her. Alms's voice is choked with rage. I warned her. On the display, Winter's mouth parts to a broad grin. Time to put plans into motion. But this time tomorrow night I should have the information that I need. And on the off chance that Schaefer gets taken out, well, that'll tell me something too. Can't make an omelet and all that. Until then. Winter's image disappears. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. I have a feeling we're about to discover just how much he knew. Well, learned. When you play the 6th track, a small video window appears. You recognize the scene of the window. In the window, you look at the tattered drapes and nicotine-stained wallpaper of Winter's Hotel at Das Kesselhaus. The time stamp in the video reads 20:54:11:10. There's a blur of motion, and the haggard form of Green Winters lumbers into frame. Suspicions confirmed. Schaefer dead. Christ. Winters reaches a shaking hand off camera. A moment later it returns, clutching a deep plastic drinking glass. He gulps something down, wipes his mouth with the back of his hand, and takes a deep breath. Okay. Back up. Slow down. Start from the beginning. Winters closes his eyes and makes a visible effort to calm himself. When he speaks again, his voice is steady. Got the call from my contact in the Huisbazaar. Schaefer killed in the estate run. Matrix security at the estate cooked a brain. Considering Schaefer's skill and expertise, and the on-site IC must have been extreme, even by Berlin standards. Security that kind costs money, real money. Given the evidence uncovered so far, corporate involvement unlikely. The connection of the fire wing is too strong. So let's come right out and say it. The dragon is what we're dealing with here. The smart money says that she's coming for me next. Well, I won't go down without a fight. I've still got my contacts, still got my connections, and the flux state can be a hell of a weapon for the man who knows how to manipulate it. Winters takes another long pull from his glass, grimaces and swallows. Time for me to make my play. Ghost stories or no, missing Deckers or no, I've got to jack into the Matrix and start pulling strings. The countermeasures that I installed earlier should be more than enough to keep me safe for the 20 minutes I'll be in there. Winters drains the rest of his glass, then tosses it back over his shoulder. A moment later you hear the dull, clattering sound of hard plastic on linoleum. Schaefer's death was tragic. She was a staunch supporter of the F-State, but still, all things considered. Winters fishes for something off screen. A moment later, his hand reappears, clutching a data jack cable. Better her than me. He plugs the cable into his head and the screen cuts to static. Better her than you, but you didn't last long, you jackass. As your finger nears the eject button, a black screen cuts into the static. A moment later, Green Winter's haggard face appears. If you're watching this, then I guess they've caught up to me. They will be after you too now. Blitz whispers into your ear again, more harsh this time. What the hell is this? Why didn't you warn me about this stuff before I came here? We didn't know. Not exactly. Not exactly? I didn't come here to get hunted by a dragon. I'm not even part of this. You are now, whether you like it or not, so quiet down and stop bothering her. Whoever you are, whoever you think you're after, you need to find Dr. Agent Beauclair. Not because he's my brother. Because if Foyer Schring is writing again, he's the only one who can stop her. You've seen what happens to people who get too close to this. I'm dead, and dozens of others have died. You'll be next, unless you can find Adrian. The screen cuts to static. The message is over. The DVD tray slides out of the reader. Well? Fuck.